one conversation that baseball families, especially from serious high school baseball players, need to have if they are serious about playing college baseball. And before we get into today's video, my name is Evan Mendoza. I played 7 years of professional baseball between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres. Spent 3 years at the D1 level at NC State University, and now we've helped over 200 high school baseball players play in college. Yes, 200, which is obviously really, really cool. But if you guys never talk about money, if you guys never talk about scholarship percentages, that is a huge conversation that needs to happen if your son is serious about playing college baseball, because the stats show it. I think I did this math a while ago on one of my videos before, but I think it was around like 180,000 for public in-state tuition, right? 180,000, yes, that's US dollars. That's public in-state. Now, if we're talking about public out, I think it was like 234. This was a Google search that I did a couple months back, so these numbers could be a little bit off. But we have 180, we have 234, and then private was, I think, like 290. And this is for 4 years, by the way. 4 years in college, right? So 4 years of college, we averaged these out, and typically speaking, I think it was around like 245,000 was the average. Could be a little bit wrong. So 245,000, that's what 4 years of education typically will look like for your typical high school student, not student athlete. So like if we're able to, and again, these numbers could be slightly off, but if we're able to acquire just a 25% scholarship, this is in the ballpark of like $45,000, right? That we could be acquiring through a baseball scholarship. So like it's important to go through these numbers so you understand basically what's on the table. $45,000. Now, if we think about all the training, all the resources that we've given to our player or your player, your son, does it necessarily equate to that? I don't know. I don't want to go into that conversation, but ideally the basis of this video is you have to understand that when we talk about scholarship money and basically the percentages that a school feels comfortable giving to a certain player, it's the level of trust that that specific coach who represents the university, we need to think about that, is willing to offer a student. And even though it's a discount for their specific university, what it really is the school is investing $45,000 into, and yes, that's your player, right? If we really think about it, it's not a $45,000 discount. It's the institution, it's the college, it's the university that's investing. Yes, the arrow is going towards your player. Yes, because it's a discount, but it's also an investment in the university's eyes. So we need to think about it like that. Is this player going to, and of course, all the stats in the big leagues and things like that, we can get carried away. But as far as WAR, like wins above replacement, for those that don't know, a lot of people won't know what that stat is, and that's okay. If you do know what that stat is, awesome for you. We might be a good fit to work together. But by the way, down below in the description, you can download the 7 steps on how to reach out to college coaches the right way, completely for free. But anyway, as far as the WAR, like, is this $45,000 going to equate to wins at that college baseball program? And really what the wins are, these college coaches, basically the coaches have to see, does this player, P1, does it equate to more wins? Because if it doesn't equate to more wins, if it basically, it's a liability, maybe your son's a liability, maybe he doesn't throw hard enough or run fast enough or doesn't hit as good. If it equates to less wins, what does that happen for the coach, right? If the coach gets less wins repetitively, the coach is going to get fired. That's his job. That is his reputation. That is who he is. And do you think that coach is going to invest money basically into a player to help him develop if they don't think that they can actually trust him? So we need to think about these conversations in a different lens, in a different perspective, because this is how college recruiting works nowadays. Now, another thing is like not having that recruiting plan. So if you don't have that recruiting plan, good luck, because having that recruiting plan is being strategic, having that strategy, making sure that we're doing outreach to these college coaches, making sure that we're, of course, emailing them, maybe social media. These are all part of the recruiting plan. Now, if we don't have a recruiting plan and we're just winging it and hoping that these college coaches will find you or your son because he's good enough, think again. There needs to be some level of a plan in place to be able to attract those eyeballs, so that way your son isn't being overlooked. That's probably one of the most common mistakes in whole college recruiting process is thinking that because my son is so great, these college coaches are going to find him, when in reality, we need to put ourselves in the best position to be able to get evaluated, which ideally can be from the seat of your own home right now. It could be on your couch. It could be sending out those emails, but we're not doing those actions, typically speaking, because we don't know what those actions should typically look like. And then also another one that I think is really important and a pretty common mistake when we're talking about, some common mistakes and conversations that need to be had in the whole college recruiting process is basically the disconnect between the parent and really the player. Like there's this huge wall in the way, because what the parent sees as far as the player is like this player that's way up here, right? If we're talking about a grid. But the player's real ability is down here. And of course, there's that disconnect downwards, right? Parents, thought of ability, and then actual, right? So this is actual, and this is like idea, right? So there's this disconnect right here as far as where their son is currently at, as far as their metrics, on how great he is. And to be fair, guys, I've talked to many different parents out there, and they all typically will tell me the same thing. Oh, I don't want to be one of those parents, and then followed by my son's great. I'm not just saying this because I'm his parent, followed by he's probably a pretty average baseball player, right? You're typically saying this in the lens of you've taken care of him, you've taken him to the lessons, you've invested a lot into him. So of course, that's why you're bringing these things up. So I totally get it, by the way. My parents, my family invested a lot as far as not only their financial side, but also with the time to be able to go to tournaments, showcases, really sacrificing their weekends for the common good of myself to be able to play at the next level and to be able to really push myself with better competition, better tournaments, better camps, better showcases. So if any of that resonates with you, if any of that speaks to you, guys, I would love to invite you to check out the Triple Play program, especially if you're a parent of a high school baseball player. He's serious, and if he's at any grade level in high school, we help high school baseball players play at the next level. Every once in a while, we'll help a very dedicated 8th grader, but typically speaking, if you are a high school baseball player or parent really, and your son's in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, this is typically who we like to work with the most, because this is when we can really kickstart the whole recruiting process and make sure that we physically develop into an absolute beast. So if that sounds at all interesting at all, go ahead, click the link down below in the video description, and we can go from there and get started today.